I actually did contact him. The current owners are Vincent and Allison Heist. It's the property with the Christmas trees on both sides of the road. And it would be on the, heading towards Cohocton on the right-hand side of the road, not where the house is. I did call him, and we had a very nice discussion, and I explained that we are in the process of writing a solar law, and that currently, solar projects are not allowed, but we're working on it. However, what he's referring to for the real property tax law is that now, and I don't know if this is new, for new energy projects, they notify real property law, and we have 60 days to say whether we're interested in a pilot or we would be taxing them at full value. So I guess since our law hasn't come to us yet, that's something that we're gonna have to think about. And I don't think it's probably something that, you know, we want to decide tonight. But to start thinking about how we do wanna deal with, these would be all the projects that would be under 25 megawatts, because anything over 25 megawatts is under 94C, and then the governor's deciding everything, and they would qualify for a pilot. But these would be the smaller 5 megawatt, of which we already have another one proposed for the town, and then we have that larger one, but that'll be going under 94C.
When you spoke with him, did he offer anything about what the town would get, or?
He did not, and I said to him that if he wanted to come, and it was too, because this was postmarked, or he wrote it on the 4th, and I didn't get it till this week. He's willing to come, like, to our next meeting in March to talk, you know, about it with the town board or the planning board.
That would be a good idea.
Can we also check with Vale to see, she must have gone through some training, I
Yeah,
would think, for
that's,
solar.
her and I have talked about it a couple of times, that the county is, you know, looking at how they're gonna tax this stuff and what they're gonna do. And, I don't think they have any decision yet either. And I think, you know, we'd have to look at how we're gonna do it. And I don't know, Marty, if you guys were looking at including anything like that in the.
So I had put one sample provision from another law that I saw that mandated that they enter into a pilot agreement. I saw yet another that said if it was a community-based project and more than a certain percentage of the power went to a town, that they might exempt them from a pilot agreement. So those are things that I have in front of the board to consider. We haven't discussed those yet. Probably do that at the next meeting. Now, I am confused though. I believe that when the original wind farm project went in, that the town of Cohocton passed a
Opted
law
out.
and opted out
Right.
of real property.
As did the school district.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Although the school district set limits on the amount of power generated and the height of wind turbines. And according to the county tax attorney, the school district isn't legal in setting those limits. So there's another fight for you.
I have a question.
Mhm.
Do we know where the planning board stands in drafting the solar use law?
Well, Marty's the lead person from the
Oh.
planning board, that's why I
Okay.
directed that question to him, sorry.
So we barely had a quorum last time. And so we didn't have a substantive discussion about the solar law. We're doing both solar and an update of the village zoning laws. So we're splitting the meeting time between those two. So we're not making progress at a rapid rate, but we are making progress.
Okay.
But he's gonna get back to me, and I like tentatively put him on the agenda for next month, so I think that's a positive way, but then everybody, I think we need to start thinking and doing some research on how we think that we might wanna deal with the taxation issue. The town has opted out, but I don't know if you still can't do something to negotiate with people. Or if you have to opt out of your opt-out.
That would be my choice.
Yeah, I know.
But is that opt-out for residential only? Wasn't that
No.
what that was?
See, that's the
No.
problem, you can't,
No,
I think you
and-
can't
and
do that.
Cheryl, if you
You
go
could
and
have.
read section four
You can.
eighty-seven
Not
of
to.
the
We chose
real
not to.
property tax law,
Okay,
you will get you will see that you actually gain nothing by
by
opting out.
opting out. But the county opted out.
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
county
We followed-
opted out. This took place back when they were just
Yeah.
talking about
I
this
remember
wind farm,
that.
and everything was so new that everybody was, oh, we better opt out, we better opt out. And they didn't gain anything. And then, you know what I went through. And it's ridiculous. The county is actually, the Office of Real Property Tax Service is actually pushing assessors to assess residential solar, which is ridiculous. It's not permanently attached to the residence. It's like assessing somebody, if you get a new furnace, they jack your assessment up. It's a utility, and it's just stupid.
And also next month, the Clearview person whose name Seth Wilmore is his name, he also, they seem to know when they both called me in the same day, which I thought was kind of funny, but I've talked to him numerous times, and he's also gonna try to come to the meeting next month also, to give, because they have been to the planning board, and,
And they received approval from NYSERDA
right,
to sell power.
they got, the NYSERDA award, which doesn't mean a whole lot other than they're sort of looking on by favor, and I'm assuming that means NYSERDA would do a power purchase agreement with them. And, so he's gonna come and give an update of what's going on with the part of it being the NYSERDA award, and, they're offering all of these companies to help in any way they can to help us write the law. So we don't have to do anything with those. It has come up, and everything that I have gotten from the governor or the health department for a COVID policy for people who have to be quarantined was only till December of 2020. But it is an issue that we have, and I don't know if we wanna set a policy, because full-time employees have sick leave, and it's not really an issue with them, with the highway guys. It's not an issue really. They were concerned with what would happen, but none of them have actually been quarantined. But if we want to, set some kind of policy for someone who does work part-time on a regular basis, and have to be quarantined, and we'd have to define quarantine being an official quarantine, or not just someone who calls and says, oh gee, I was, at the local restaurant and someone has COVID and I'm gonna quarantine, kind of thing. So I just put it down. I don't know if we wanna think about it. I think everybody's hoping all this is over with soon, but that doesn't seem to be happening around here.
Yeah, I think the policy should cover full-time and part-time. I mean, it's not their choice to be quarantined for 2 weeks and having to use their
No.
own vacation or sick time to cover that.
No, well, we have to
No.
have a policy, but part-time is totally different because they don't have any benefits
Right,
whatsoever.
they don't earn.
Right. And I don't
So the
think that's,
policy just gotta state what counts as quarantine? Or what
Or
they,
pay.
what pay
If
and,
you're paying them or,
Can I weigh in?
yeah.
Mhm.
The other agencies I work for, they have the same type of policy. But they pay them, that 2 weeks, that 14 days, they pay them for their scheduled work shifts. Like they don't pay them 5 days or 10 days pay in those 2 weeks, but if they're scheduled 2 days or 1 day, they get paid that scheduled days pay or 2 days pay or 3 days pay, whatever they're on for. I don't, only because that way, somebody wants a good paycheck, they don't go and go to the doctor and say, hey, I got COVID, and now they get 10 days pay when they're realistically only get 4 days pay.
Right.
So the other places, they came up with a resolution that they would pay them their scheduled days, like if they were scheduled Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday, Friday, and they had to be quarantined, that they would pay them that. And I only bring that up because I heard you guys talk about it. I know we've gone through it over there. Not so much here, but over there we've gone through it.
So what do they have to do as, they're.
Well,
as
if
a
you're
tracer?
quarantined, then there's something to do with the health department, because
You get a formal email
Yeah.
in
the
a
department, like the sheriff's office will come out and knock on your door and make sure you're home or whatever. There's some type of paperwork that,
but there's 2 different quarantines.
No, yeah.
I have, knock
You got the
on wood,
official
I don't
one.
know.
You get an official one from the state saying you can't leave your house, and that's gonna come from the Department of Health.
They both come from Department of Health if you have
But
exposure
I've
or if
quar-
you test positive.
Yeah, but I've quarantined twice just for exposure because I had to get tested. And the only paperwork I had was from my doctor's office saying, you're not allowed to leave your house until your test results come
But there's
back.
some kind of paperwork.
Yeah.
Right, that,
So-
yeah.
Yeah, you can't
You get
just
it
call
from
in and say, hey, I'm
Yeah,
quarantined.
I
Yeah,
think,
you'll
And
get it
then
from your
you're-
doctor saying you have to
There's
quarantine
pictures
while
of
you
you
wait for your
on a
test
beach in
results.
South Carolina or someplace, yeah.
'Cause I've done that.
that works.
And then the other one, like if
If
my
they
wife
call
tests
you,
positive,
Yeah,
I don't go get tested, I just start quarantining immediately
Mhm.
from her date of exposure or first symptoms. So that's when I would get my paperwork.
right.
'Cause that's how, I think we've had like 5 or 6 I've dealt with. But the thing you gotta be careful with is you have, like, we have employees that abuse it. They go to the doctors every time they get a cough, and the doctors will not treat the cough, they
Oh,
COVID
they
test.
immediately,
Yeah.
And then they get a piece of paper saying, I'm on quarantine waiting my test results. Which, that happens more than you think, because we have to pay them.
Yeah, the village of Wayland, when they adopted theirs, they pay their part-timers once in a 6-month period. So like that, somebody doesn't abuse it.
Right.
Like they don't come in every other month and say, hey, I'm quarantined again.
That's not bad, once in a 6-month period, then really.
Right, so they'd only be able to use it twice if they got it. Which realistically, part-timers only work 2 days a week maybe.
so we're looking at, you'd have to have paperwork.
You'd have to have a doctor's note saying
Right.
you're on test quarantine or the
Or
paperwork
the,
from the Department of Health.
from the health department,
limit. Do you have Wayland's? Do you have Wayland's COVID policy?
I don't, I just presented it to them, they just adopted it a week ago or so, whenever their last board meeting was.
I looked, I searched online, everything I got was, you know, from last year and
And the only reason I brought it up over there was because I wanted to have my bases covered before something happened.
Well, and that's why we didn't have a problem around here until very recently, and now we seem to. So we want paperwork
And a limit.
and a limit, and,
You'd only get paid for your scheduled days for part-time
right,
work.
oh, yeah, definitely. Well, your average schedule, because not everybody works the same.
Right, but if you're only,
thing,
you know,
but
like I
yeah.
got one guy that works 1 day a week, you know, like,
Yeah.
we're not gonna pay him 3 days a week, you know,
No.
like he gets paid at his scheduled days, that's it.
Well, whatever they're scheduled though.
Right.
You
If they're
know,
scheduled
you do a
during their
whole month,
quarantine.
you do a month out, right?
Right.
So you know what you're gonna pay them.
Yeah, they already got their schedule for next month.
And what is the quarantine time now, Amanda, do you, I mean, cause it's
I
changing.
think it's like
That's
10
10
down to
days from
10
the date of
days.
exposure. And then if you test positive, it's 10 days from the first day of symptoms.
Yeah, it's not even 10 days, like I can get tested and say I got symptoms 7 days ago, I only got a quarantine for 3 more days.
So my initial quarantine for my exposure, I was exposed on the 31st and I had to quarantine through that following Monday. I went and following Wednesday. I tested that Tuesday, but my cough arrived on Saturday. So even though I tested positive Tuesday, it went from started symptoms, which was Saturday, so then it was 10 days from Saturday, which was, my release date was this morning at 10 a.m. because I tested at 10 a.m.
But if you live in the same house as someone positive and you only have one bathroom, then they have to quarantine
That's 20
longer
days.
than the person who has, who
From
tested
their
positive.
symptoms.
That's the part I love. And being someone who uses a lot of public restrooms, I bet I've used a lot. Okay, that, we don't need to go there, but, okay, are we want paperwork, we'd pay an average of the time for a part-time worker, now what about full-time?
Full-time.
Just
You get paid your
pay them
daily
their
wage.
salary for the,
Cause I know when we do it, we have special accounts we have to use for COVID pay, so it doesn't come out of people's PTO.
yeah, we don't have those special.
No, it's a
Yeah.
different coding for
Yeah,
it,
no,
like,
yeah.
so that way you're not using their vacation times and they don't have to use any of their time. Cause then something, I thought something came out last year that says you have to do that from the state. Said it was, I thought there was a requirement that came out last year
Well,
saying you had to offer 2
I
weeks of
had a
COVID pay.
thing, but then that expired on December.
Oh.
And I don't have anything new, and I don't know what they're doing, but, and what was the time? Like, only once in,
6 months, right? Once every 6 months.
Once every 6 months is what I would go with. You just don't want somebody,
Go out and party.
right, you don't want somebody doing it every other month.
well, we know they wouldn't be able to go to Florida. They're 10 days. Do we, do we wanna have a motion of setting that, or we wanna write it up first and have David look at it and we'll, okay. Okay, I just have unemployment insurance scam. I don't know if anybody's aware of it, but we've had 2 people associated with the town who've already had, unemployment insurance applied for.